Inside this video topic, we'll discuss a very interesting concept of WordPress, and that is how to integrate jQuery UI elements to any of the WordPress application. So overall, inside this video topic, we'll discuss a very interesting concept and super easy and also very informative to learn and implement inside any of the WordPress application. So first thing first, before going further into this deep concept of this course all about the integration process of jQuery UI elements, the first question comes into your mind is that what are jQuery UI elements? So to understand this concept into a much better way, let's go to browser. If I type a keyword called jQuery UI, now here we can see our official documentation link of jQuery UI. Simply, let's click on it. So here we are landed on the jQuery UI official documentation page. So jQuery UI is a curated set of user interface interactions, effects, widgets, and themes built on top of the jQuery JavaScript library. So obviously, if we see the integration process, so once we integrate this library into our application, so after integration, we can use lots of features according to its documentation. Like here we can see that user interaction tools like draggable, droppable, resizable, selectable, and sortable. Additionally, also we are allowed to use like widgets called accordion, autocomplete button, and much more things by using this jQuery UI. So here, inside this video topic, we'll discuss a complete step-by-step process to integrate this jQuery UI into our WordPress application so that all these features, what basically it provides, we can easily access and use inside any of the WordPress setup. So this video will be a step-by-step process about integration and use of jQuery UI elements. And one more thing, if this video will be helpful, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Now, first thing that what is the plan of this entire course or entire journey? So simply, we'll create a plugin into this WordPress setup, and by the help of that custom plugin, we'll learn the complete process, step-by-step process to integrate jQuery UI into this WordPress setup. All right, friends, now let's start the process of integration of jQuery UI elements to this WordPress setup by creating our own custom plugin. One more thing, if I go to this official documentation of jQuery UI, for example, if I want to integrate this accordion widget to a WordPress setup, what to do? Let's click on it first. So we can see that this is the design of accordion widget of jQuery UI. If I scroll, here we have a link of view source. Let's click on it. Now we can see that inside this source code of accordion widget, here we have some library files like jQuery UI.css. Here we have jQuery.js as well as jQuery UI.js. So it means to work or create jQuery UI accordion widget into an application, we need these files must be integrated. So what is the process to use jQuery UI and its element into application? Now let's get started into WordPress by means of creating a custom plugin of WordPress. So first thing first, I'll open this setup into a Visual Studio Code. Now next after this, I'll go inside this WP content plugins folder. Let's create our custom plugin folder here. So I will click on this plus icon and here I'll call it as wp-jQuery-ui. Then I will copy the folder name. Let's go inside it, create our main plugin file of this plugin .php. Now first thing first, inside this .php file, I will write some comment lines of PHP so that this plugin will introduce first inside this WordPress setup. So here the syntax of multi-line comment, then here we have called plugin name. Let's call it as WP jQuery UI. Then here we have description. So this plugin will help to integrate jQuery UI to WordPress. Then here we have the author name. Then here we have the version number. So I will call it as 1.0. So apart from these parameters like plugin name, description, author version, also we have the option to pass plugin URI and author URI. But for the time being, these parameters are okay. Let's go to browser. I'll click then on this plugins, installed plugins. And here we can see WP jQuery UI. So this is the plugin name. Then here we have the plugin description, plugin version, and plugin author. Now what next? We want that after activation of this plugin, we want a menu should be added inside this admin panel. Let's call it as jQuery UI elements. And whenever if I click on that menu, it will open a page and inside that page we want jQuery UI Accordion. Let's go to editor. So after these comment lines, first let's verify that this plugin will work only inside WordPress installation setup. So if defined here, so we'll use a constant concept called WPINC. It's a WordPress constant. If this constant is not available, it means simply we have to exit from there. Otherwise, let's use add action and here let's pass admin underscore menu because we want to create an admin menu. So this is an action hook. Let's pass our callback function name. So I will call it as WordPress jQuery UI underscore add admin menu. So this will be our callback function name. I will just copy, let's say function name. Let's add plugin menu page. Then I will go inside this callback function and here I'll use a WordPress function called add menu page. So here we have to first pass page title. So I will simply call it as jQuery UI elements. Let's copy. Now the next argument we have to pass called menu title. So the same value we have the menu title capability. So let's say manage options. Then here we have the menu slug. So I will call it as let's say jQuery UI. Then here we have the callback function and this argument is very important because what the function we want to execute after click on this menu, this callback function is going to handle. So here I will call it as this callback function name as WordPress jQuery UI underscore handle underscore menu page. Then after here we have the option of icon URL. So for icon URL, let's go to browser and simply if I type, let's say dash icons, just hit enter, click on this first link, dash icons. So for example, if I want to integrate the icon like this multi-site, let's click here, copy this class name. Once we copy, let's go here, double quotes or single quotes, and let's paste here. Now the next here we have the position number. So if I go and search for let's say add menu page, click on this first function link and here for the position number if I scroll so we can see that these are the default number of WordPress. So for example, if I want to integrate our own custom like plugin menu after this appearance, so appearance the number is 60. So for example, if I pass let's say 62, automatically our plugin menu will be added after appearance. Save these changes. So once we save, let's copy the callback function. So function name, and for the time being, let's echo within h1 tag jQuery UI elements. If I save these changes, if I go here, let's reload this page. Now next, let's click on this activate link. So successfully plugin activated and on plugin activation we can see that here we have our custom menu that is jQuery UI elements and this plugin menu now added just after this appearance. Let's click on it. So successfully here we have our added custom text that is jQuery UI elements. So what next? Instead of the simplest text message, we want that this accordion what we had discussed should be integrated into this plugin page. So also we know that to work with this accordion widget, also we want some library files that is jQuery UI.css, jQuery some version number .js, jQuery UI.js. It means to work with any of jQuery UI widget, we want these plugin files must be included inside WordPress plugins. But let me tell you that the most interesting thing of WordPress that these plugin files by default available inside WordPress. Only we have to know idea that what is the process to use and what is the process to call these widgets. So first thing first, let's go to folder. Then I will go into folder structure And here, then I will go inside this develop includes. Remember, develop includes. Then I have to go inside this JS folder, and inside this JS, here we have a jQuery. Let's click on it. And inside this jQuery, look at a subfolder called UI. And if I open this jQuery UI, now we can see that here we have all those plugin files like accordion.js, accordion.mean.js, autocomplete, and much more plugin files. It means by default, WordPress provides all these files. Only we have to know that what is the process to use these files and what is the process to use our like jQuery UI elements. So what next? So to use all these plugin files, first let's go to browser and I will open a WordPress function called WP in QScript. Simply after typing this function, let's hit enter, click on this first function link. So here is the documentation of WP in QScript. So if I scroll down to its documentation, so here we can see that default scripts and JS libraries included and registered by WordPress. So we can see that here we have multiple plugin files. So if I scroll, we can see jQuery UI widget, jQuery UI Accordion, and much more documentation. It means if we want to use it, for example, jQuery UI Accordion to our plugin, we have to call simply jQuery UI Accordion. So once we call, WordPress by default is going to include the plugin file to use this jQuery UI element. So what is the process to use this? Let's go here. So here, what to do? Let's first remove this simple text message and I want to include our accordion widget. So for that, I want some more content. So to create those content, first I will go into this plugin folder and let's create a new folder inside it called views. And inside this subfolder, let's create a file called template accordion.php, and inside this .php file, what to do? I will copy the content of this accordion widget. Let's select all this content, just copy and paste it here. This is only the sample content. Then I will go here and I will then use the concept of PHP buffer so that I will include this template file right here inside this callback function. So to start PHP buffer, ob start is the function to use. Then we have to include our template file. So include once, then here plugin dir path, it's a WordPress function. Let's pass our file constant. Then we have to go inside our views folder. And inside the views folder, the file name we have called tmpl-accordion.php. So tmpl-accordion.php. And finally, to print the content of template file, echo ob get clean. Save these changes. If I go to browser, let's reload. And now we can see that here we have the sample content, what we have copied from this accordion widget. But here we can see that this accordion is working inside this documentation, but here it's not working. This is because that all the library files what we had discussed is completely missing from this page. So what next? Then I will go here. Let's scroll up. So after this add action, let's add one more add action, admin underscore enq underscore scripts, and here I'll call it as a callback function name, something called wp jQuery UI underscore add plugin files. Let's copy the callback function name. Then I will go here, function name. So inside this callback function, we have to include our jQuery UI plugin files. Now here, to include our plugin files of jQuery UI, if I go to browser, go to the documentation of developing QScript, so we can see that jQuery UI accordion is dependent on jQuery. It means that before inclusion of plugin files of jQuery UI accordion, also we have to include jQuery. If I go to this accordion documentation, also we are able to see that before this jQuery UI.js, also we have the library that is jQuery some version.js. Now the question is how to include jQuery first and then after how to include jQuery UI accordion. So it's very simple inside WordPress. If I go a little bit up, so we can see to include jQuery, simply we have to copy this jQuery keyword. Let's go here inside this callback function, wp underscore in QScript is the WordPress function, and here simply pass jQuery. Now what next? Then I will copy or simply double open script again, and inside this double quotes or single quotes, if we want to use jQuery UI Accordion, simply we have to copy jQuery UI Accordion and pass it here. All we have done, save these changes. One more thing we have to do, that if we want to use jQuery UI accordion, also we have to call this accordion method on this our selector call accordion. So what is the meaning of this accordion? Simply if I go into this template file, now here we can see id equals to accordion. So simply we have to call this id on accordion method. How to include? So let's go first into our plugin file, means plugin folder, and here I will create one more folder. Let's call it as JS. And inside this folder, I will create a file called script.js. And here, let's say jQuery function. And inside this function, what to do? I will go here. Let's copy this ID. And here, jQuery ID, and I will then call accordion method. Remember, this method will only work if we have included this jQuery UI accordion class. Save these changes, and also we have to include this file right here inside this plugin files callback function. So here, let's add script.js. So WPN script. Here, handle ID, it means unique identifier of that file. So I will call it as custom script. Then here the source file path. So let's say plugin dir UI is a WordPress function. Let's pass file here. Then we have to go into JS folder. And from JS folder, we have to include this script.js. Now next, here we have dependencies. So this file is also dependent on jQuery. We can see. So what here? Let's pass an array. And inside here, inside this array, let's pass simply jQuery. Then here we have the version number. So these parameters are optional. So I will go just remove, save these changes. Let's copy this custom script. Then I will go here. Let's hard reload Control F5. And if I go press Control U first to get the source code, or simply right click view page source. So if I search here, now we can see that custom script, this is the file we have included from this plugin folder. If I open, now we can see accordion method. So once we done all these things like inclusion of jQuery UI accordion and our custom script file, now we are able that our accordion is working. But here, one more thing, that CSS is missing. So what is the process to fix CSS? So here, if I go to the jQuery UI documentation, let's click on this themes option. So we can see, then we have to click on this gallery section. So inside this gallery, now we can see that here we have bulk section of themes. So what themes we want as per our requirement, as per our demand. So for example, if I want to use this Lake Frog theme, simply click on download. It will provide some options section we can see like core features. Here we have interactions, widgets, and much more. It is asking that what files actually we are trying to download. That file will contains all these functions, all these features. So for example, if I want to download that file which basically provides only the function of accordion, so in that case, simply uncheck all, remove here, and simply click on this accordion. So what the file we download, that file will only contain the function and features of this accordion. But let's say that inside our plugin, if I want to use, let's say, accordion feature, tabs feature, dialog feature, so every time we have to download the unique files or the specific file of all those elements. So instead of that, let's select all, and simply, let's say also we want all these functions and features. I will then go here, click on download. So successfully we can see that now it has downloaded a zipped file into our local system. So what next? Let's go to folder structure. So here we have our zip file. So right click, let's say extract all, click on extract button. So successfully it has extracted all those files what basically we need inside our jQuery UI element CSS. So let's go inside this folder. Let's go here. Now we can see that here we have multiple files. So what basically we need, let's copy this jQuery UI.main.css because only we want like CSS file. So I will just copy, go folder back, go here, WP content, then I will go into this plugins folder, then I will go into this WP jQuery UI. Let's go, let's say large icons. And here, let's create a new folder and I will call it as CSS. And inside this CSS, I'll put jQuery UI.main.css. So what next? If I go here, let's go inside our plugin folder. Now you can see that inside this plugin folder, here we have one more subfolder that is CSS, and here we have our CSS file. So what next? Let's go inside this callback function. Simply, we have to include this file as well. I will just copy the file name. Let's go here and at the top of this callback function, simply let's attach our CSS file. So here, WPNQ style. Now let's pass handle ID. So I will call it as UI CSS. Then we have to pass our source file path. So plugin dir URL file constant. So we have to then go inside CSS folder and this is our CSS file. So once we have loaded successfully our jQuery CSS library file, jQuery main plugin file, jQuery UI Accordion plugin file, and our custom script, save all these changes. Let's go here. And if I reload, now we can see that our simplest design is now converted into eye-catching jQuery UI Accordion widget. So this is section number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in the same way, also we have the options to include all the features of jQuery UI element. For example, as we can see that if we click on the section number 1, it is not collapsing. So it means also we have the options to pass its properties. For example, if I go here, let's click on demos here. As we know that we have integrated accordion. So let's click on accordion. So if I click on this option called collapse content, so we can see that here we have the option like if we want to collapse this section number 1, we have to pass a property called collapsible equals to true. So simply I will copy this setting. Let's go here, open our custom script file. Inside here, let's pass an object and put it here. If I save this change, let's reload. And now we can see that, okay, let's press Ctrl F5 to hard reload. And if I press, now we can see that it is also opening and closing. So in the same way, also we have the options to include all the functions, all the widgets of jQuery UI to this WordPress setup. For example, let's see one more. I want to include the function features of these tabs here. We can see that this is tab number 1, tab number 2, tab number 3. I want to include this function. So what to do? Go into this view source. We can see all this documentation to include this feature. So if I go here, let's go inside our plugin folder. Let's go inside this views and I will create one more file. It's tmpl-tabs.php. So quickly inside this template file, let's go here. Then I will copy all this complete code HTML content. Let's paste it here. Simply, if I go here, let's create one more submenu. Like inside first submenu, if I call, let's say jQuery UI Accordion. Let's copy jQuery UI Accordion, paste it here. Now let's add submenu page and here parent slug. So inside parent slug here we have jQuery UI. I will copy, put it here. Let's call it as accordion. Let's copy this accordion and I will paste it here. So this is parent slug of this submenu. Then here we have our page title. So I will call it as same here. Let's say accordion, or here let's say jQuery UI elements. Let's paste it here. So accordion. Here we have the menu title. Let's say accordion. Then here we have the capabilities. So I will call it as manage options. Then here we have the menu slug. So the same slug we use for this first submenu. Let's copy jQuery UI accordion and then here callback. So the same callback function I will use. So let's copy and paste here. Now let's create one more submenu that is add submenu page. parent slug. So here we have the parent slug as jQuery UI Accordion. I will pass it here. Now next let's say tabs here because I am interested to include jQuery UI tabs, manage options. Then here we have the menu slug. Simply let's call it as jQuery UI tabs. Then here callback functions. So WordPress jQuery UI underscore handle tabs. So what to do? Simply I will copy this callback function and once we save, let's go and reload. Okay, here we have some error and obviously because we have changed the slug here, let's go and reload. Let's remove this. And if I click on this jQuery UI, now we can see that inside this jQuery UI elements, now we have two submenus called accordion and tabs. So this accordion is working whenever we click on this accordion, but whenever if I click on these tabs, it is not working. Instead, we have some error, and this is because we didn't define this callback function. So let's copy, go here, let's say function and the function name. So here, what to do? Let's OB start. Then here, let's say include ones, plugin dir path, and here, let's say file constant. Then here we have to go into views folder, and from views folder, it will be tmpl-tabs.php. Keep in mind that inside this template file, here we have all those sample content, what we have copied from tabs documentation. And finally, after inclusion, let's say echo ob get clean. Save these changes. If I go and reload, so instead of error message, now here we have all those sample content. But if we compare this plugins tab with these tabs, so we can see that it is working, but it is not working. And this is because our plugin files are missing. So what next? If I go to this documentation, so this time we are interested to use jQuery UI tabs. So let's scroll a bit. So here we have jQuery UI tabs. Now we can see that this library is also dependent on jQuery. So simply copy this UI tabs because already we have included this jQuery. So here WPNQ script and here we have jQuery UI tabs. So once we include, now the next thing, if I go to this documentation, we have to call this tabs method. So what next? If I go and copy this tabs ID, let's go here into our custom script file. So jQuery, this is our selector. Now we are able to call this tabs method. This method we are able to call because we have included this plugin file. Save these changes. So if I go and reload, and now we can see that successfully we have included this tabs function to this custom plugin of WordPress. So now the question is why basically our CSS is working, and this is because remember we have downloaded our CSS from theme section to all those sections what basically for jQuery UI elements. So that's why CSS is automatically gets attached with these tabs and it is working. So we can see that now how easier is the concept to include jQuery UI into WordPress. So successfully, this is the overall idea that if we want to play with the jQuery UI features to WordPress, how it is useful, how it is super easy to integrate into our WordPress. So friends, I hope this video is really very interesting and informative. So please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Now let's meet to next amazing video. So for this video session guys, thank you for watching and have a great day.